Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for dropping by Sha-En Speaks. I'm really excited to be able to connect with you. Now, we are going to talk about the second question that's being asked. I'm so excited when people send in questions because it tells me what's really on their mind. And if some of my answer can be helpful, hopefully that helps them to live a more fulfilling and happier life. So this next question comes from Avni Martin. Thank you, Avni, for sending in your question. And she asks, what tips do you have for young people who suffer from deep anxiety relating to exams and projects, so much so that they can't sleep and it impacts their confidence and cognitive abilities? Well, first of all, Avni, I'm so sorry to hear this. If it is a young person who's in your life or someone that you know, it must be really difficult what they are experiencing. And the truth is, your young person is not alone. So many young people, not just here in Singapore, but across the globe, suffer from anxiety related to academic stress. Now, anxiety is an emotion that is fairly common. We feel anxious when there's a test coming up. We feel anxious when we're about to make a presentation. We feel anxious when there's uncertainty. Anxiety or feeling anxious is quite normal as part of the whole range of human emotions. However, when does anxiety move from what is normal to experience into something that's debilitating? Well, when the anxiety is affecting your normal functioning, then we say it's great cause for concern. Well, what does this actually mean? For example, if a young person is able to continue with their normal activities such as going out with friends, getting through their sleep routine well, being able to complete their homework, show up in class, and do all the things that maybe a normal young person would do, and of course it depends on their own routine, then we would say that's normal functioning. But normal functioning alone does not constitute good well-being. It must be matched with feeling good. So, for example, if we were to ask this young person, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is very low and 5 is that they're feeling good, and if they answer consistently on a 1, plus they're not able to function well, then I would be really concerned, and that's when perhaps they might need to seek professional help or talk to someone or really strengthen their support systems. Now, why does anxiety occur? Anxiety occurs when the nervous system is dysregulated. If you've never heard of the nervous system, I would like to bring up this metaphor of a car or the analogy of a car. In a car, there are 2 pedals. The accelerator pedal that enables the car to move forward and gain speed, and the brake pedal. And the brake pedal is meant for us to slow down or brake. In our body, there is also this system called the nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, which is like the accelerator, is necessary because when there's a threat, we want to accelerate instead of brake, and therefore we step on the brake pedal or the nervous system gets activated. But there's also the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the brake mode, which is supposed to help us to slow down, self-regulate, and rest. Now, when the wires are crossed, so to speak, or when the 2 systems are not functioning well, we call it dysregulation. And that could mean in anxiety that the accelerator pedal is constantly on all the time and the car just keeps going and going and going. And so the feeling of wanting to run, the feeling of butterflies in the stomach, the feeling of swirling thoughts, all these can be associated when the accelerator pedal is on overdrive. And when the brake is supposed to be pressed, somehow they do not know how to activate that system. So you may have heard the young person say, I'm trying to rest, but my body just can't rest. When I'm trying to pause and not think about those thoughts, the thoughts just automatically start coming in. And so the nervous system is now having our wires crossed, or in other words, the brake isn't working when it's supposed to, and the accelerator pedal is on overdrive. Now, what can help? Of course, something that the young person can do is first to acknowledge the negative thoughts that may be swirling in. When you have anxiety, tendency is you will also have what we call automatic nervous thoughts, or rather automatic negative thoughts In short, we call them ends. And it could sound like, I'm not good enough, you're not going to keep up, you're not going to make the grade. Because of this, you're going to embarrass your parents, you're not going to get into the school that you want. And you can just imagine when these start swirling at 100 miles per hour, it can feel really anxiety inducing, and the young person can also feel out of control. But dismissing it or trying to run away from it or distract from it is not the solution. Instead, I would recommend first by acknowledging the negative thoughts, by being a witness and just noticing, hey, I see you. This thought that's coming in that's telling me I'm not good enough, I acknowledge that you're there. Why does this help? When we acknowledge our thoughts, it means that we are getting to know the thought. Because if we don't know it, then how do we know how to work through it, right? Second of all, notice where this thought or this emotion or the anxiety is showing up in our physical body. Many of us think of anxiety as something that's simply cognitive or mental, but so much of it is in our body. Maybe it's the stomach, maybe it's the neck, maybe it's the back, maybe it's the headache, right? Or maybe it's just general tension, the jaws all clenched up. Once we notice, we can be a little bit more intentional about targeting certain parts of the body, maybe through breathing exercises or just noticing that it's there. And then reminding yourself, hey, my body's holding all this tension. Is it really helping me or is it actually harming me? Just making this kind of intentional processing and witnessing can actually be helpful for the young person to make a choice how they would want to manage this anxiety. Third of all, take some really deep breaths through your diaphragm. Many of us breathe in and out, 2 seconds in, 2 seconds out, and we wonder why we don't feel anxious. Well, the body is not getting enough oxygen to calm down. That's one. Number two, when we don't get enough oxygen, right, we are unable, or it kind of gives the brain the feeling that we are still in threat mode. And so deep breath, such as 4 seconds in through your nose, holding your breath for 4 seconds, breathing out slowly through your diaphragm or your belly, slowly for 8 counts, and then repeat that a few more times. If you want, you can put your hand on your heart or your belly and just really bring yourself into the moment and notice how the breath is going there. That also takes your mind out from the accelerator mode, overthinking, overrunning, just trying to run away into the present. And that helps to regulate and calm down your nervous system. Next, if you're still feeling a bit of tension, what may help to really ease the anxiety or ease the stress cycle in the moment would be some kind of movement. Yes, I said it, movement. Now, you don't need to go out there and box for 1 whole hour if you want to be my guest, but it could even mean just going for a walk. If you love to swim, go for a short swim. Sometimes for me, what really helps is doing some sit-ups or some jumping jacks just to take away the tension. Movement is so important to release the tension and bring in the hormones that promote well-being, like endorphins and adrenaline. Right? These are the natural stress relieving hormones that could be really good for the young person in question. Very often we make choices, or maybe the adults in the young person's life tell them when they're studying to really just keep focusing on studying. But actually what really helps them is a cycle of maybe studying because they need to focus, relaxation or movement, right? Studying again, then relaxation, movement, maybe eating, some social connection, lots of good rest at night, eating well. I think if we are able to build this routine into the young person's life, then it's a little bit more balanced. Otherwise, it's so much stress which activates the accelerator, but not enough break time for them to literally slow down and regulate the nervous system. Last of all, if this young person has tried a lot of what I've recommended and is still unable to feel that they can get a good night's rest, and it's even starting to cloud their cognitive abilities, I would strongly recommend professional help. Sometimes there's a strong stigma about seeking the help of a professional therapist or counselor. However, they are well trained, especially those working with young people, to be able to attune to their needs, empathize, and even recommend specific therapy that could help them, right? Help seeking is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it is a sign of strength. If the young person you're talking about really needs extra help, try to encourage and support. Of course, if you can't force the person, please don't. But at least put the thought there that it is something worth introducing and worth going for. Okay? There are so many methods out there, and sometimes we do need a little bit of patience because your young person may only resonate with certain methods. So Avni, thank you so much for sending in the question. I really hope that the young person you're referring to gets the help they need. And should you have any more questions, do continue to pop them in the comments. For all of you who have listened to this, if you have other questions related to happiness, mental health, or well-being, I'd be more than happy to answer. And if you have parenting questions, education-related questions, that actually is also a passion of mine. So do pop them in the comments. And of course, if you're here for the first time, please subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below. And I look forward to engaging with all of you once again.